What's good, everyone? This your main correspondent, Alan Taylor, and I'm back in the broadcast room. And this is where we at now. So you clearly see the title of the broadcast, and we're going to dive off into this because I have a few people of the African American descent, and well, you know, it is what it is. And they're saying that black people need to stop blaming white people for the failures in our community. So we're going to dive off into this. Let's check this out. Quarters, nickels, and dimes.
I'm not sure if you noticed this, but we are currently entering an era where the so-called white American does not care about your feelings. Yes, as a black American, many white Americans do not care about your feelings. Right now, it's fuck your feelings. I don't care if you call me a racist. Oh, yeah, that's the attitude with many white Americans in today's world. And guess what? Call me crazy. Call me crazy. But I'm happy that this is happening. I am. See, because for decades, and I mean decades, the white American has to walk on eggshells of trying not to offend the so-called black American by making them feel like they're less than. See, whatever the white American does or say, they're easily labeled a racist, and it ruins their livelihood because they're scared to offend the black American. At least that was a point in time. Today, complete opposite. Fuck your feelings. I don't care anymore. Have you seen the amount of so-called blackface content released this year? A bunch of them. A bunch of them. That's basically them saying, fuck your feelings. And you know what's even crazier? Many white Americans are not even racist. That's the whole point. They're not even racist. They're not even terrible people. Of course, some of them are, but everyone's racist. But my point is, many of them are not even racist, but they can easily be labeled one by doing something or saying something. They can easily be labeled a racist. And they know this. I know this. But like I said, we're now entering an era where they just do not care anymore. And it's beautiful. It is dope. I'm happy more of them are becoming vocal and they're deciding to stop walking on eggshells.
And this is where we get here. Whether people like it or not, the history of this planet, the history of the society that we've been in here in America, I'm saying? It is what it is, from slavery all the way till now. Yes, black people, we have been having I guess I want to say a strategical opinion about white people for a few decades here, as a culture. And we've been, saying things out loud for a long period of time and stuff like that. And yeah, it's only so long till, you're going to keep saying certain things and having certain type of, I guess feelings or whatever without actually trying to research and trying to understand, that the fact that, yeah, not all white people are racist. Just not like all black people are good people. Then we have black people that are racist as well. Let's just keep this honest, but as black people, we tend not to look internally and understand that rhetoric that, we do have black people that are racist. And this is just the truth, and yeah, it's, everybody gets tired at some point of being, called something that they're not, definitely if they're really not that and things like that. It's just like how, women nowadays are on mass or sitting around here talking about, all men are dogs and, the majority of women talking about they don't need men and all that type of stuff. And this is the reason why, the relationship situation is coming to this point to where, men are have checked out, and then you got the internet full of chicks to a degree talking about where all the men at. people get tired of being called things or labeled as things that they're not. You know, definitely on this mass situation that we have on the internet now, because that's what this is. Basically, that's what this is that we're living in a society to where we have the internet and everybody's on it. Black, white, it don't matter. And people are hearing things and seeing videos and doing it and things like that that we wasn't seeing, you know, just 20 years ago. And we're seeing how people are truly feeling their true mindsets and things like that. And of course, you know, everybody's sick of it. It doesn't matter whether you're black, white, or whatever culture you're from, things like that. People are sick of dumb people talking out the side of their necks. So we're going to go here now because there's always more on the bottom line. And let's see what she has to say.
I just want to ask black folks something. Why do y'all want to be oppressed so bad? Why do y'all want to experience the slavery mentality? I don't give a fuck about slavery. I've never been a slave and I don't plan on being one. I'm not going to drag the chains of my ancestors into my life. The generational curses stop here. The slave mentality stop here. Because to be honest with you, I've never been oppressed. I've never been held back. I've never been hurt by anybody white. You know who I've been hurt the most by, held back, and people that have stopped me from gaining things were people that look like me.
Right. And these are just the facts. You know, whether we like this or not in the black community, we're more treacherous to ourselves than outsiders are. And this is, of course, this is due to proximity, that in most states and things like that, in most places in America, collectively, we do tend to live in our own communities. You know what I'm saying? Black, white, Chinese, Jewish. That's why you got Chinatown, you know, in certain places of America, you know, the Italy, you know, black people have certain parts in America that we live in collectively together as a whole, whether it be up north or down south. And yes, it's just the truth about these facts and things like that. And we tend to hold on to a lot of rhetoric as black people sometimes and stuff like that. Other cultures do it too, don't get me wrong. But the thing of this is as black people, we have to stop, you know, what we're doing here, because, you know, we're already destroyed as a culture now, you know, due to the way that we live, the way that we are denying trying to have communities, because we, you know, a certain part of us want to have this fictional freedom and things like that. But yeah, you know, carrying the past into the future is, you know, a different, is not the way to do things. Not to say that you don't need to know the past and understand it. And, you know, we get it that it's certain things that, you know, happened in the past that kind of have little tits and tats for today. But at the same time, though, too, in today's society, you as a black person can make it if you apply yourself and get the right information to do the right things by your life and try to move forward. It's nowhere around that.
I only been oppressed by my own people. And that's the sad part. They want you to turn a blind eye to their cruelty to us, their own people.
Right.
I've never been hurt or held back by anybody white. I only been hurt and held back by the people that look like me.
And she said a mouthful then, and it is what it is here, people. You know, black people, you we got a whole issue to clear up. But at the same time, though, too, you know, growing up in the way that I grew up back in the day, remembering what I remembered about black culture and stuff like that. Not to say that everything was perfect. Of course, life is never going to be perfect. And I wish people would stop trying to strive to get to this fictitious thought process that life is supposed to be perfect. That's some fake ass shit. It'll never happen, regardless of how hard you try. Nothing will ever be perfect. There's going to be ups and downs, turmoils and strife. Even the Bible teaches you that. It's going to be turmoils and strife. That's just how it's designed on the planet, and that's just how we are as people. But, yeah, it's crazy to me that, we're sitting here and, of course, white people nowadays are sick of, the way things have been going with black people talking down on them. I mean, at some point, just like we got sick of, the way that, white people was our ancestors got sick of the way that white people was doing them and stuff like that. And they did something about it. It's just, things are a little bit different nowadays. The roles are reversed. You know what I'm saying? We got a level of freedom that our ancestors never had. And they actually fought for it. And they actually, shed blood, sweat, and tears to get us to this point. And we're sitting here ungrateful. And we're steadily trying to play victims as a culture, and things like that. And that's ridiculous around here. So we're going to keep going. Let's see what she has to say as well.
You're not gonna like this, but maybe it's not racism. Maybe you just suck. Maybe you don't have to work 2 times harder than white people. Maybe you just need to work 2 times harder than you've ever worked in your entire life. Maybe you didn't get the job because you just weren't the right fit. Maybe you didn't get the promotion because sometimes someone else moved differently than you behind the scenes. Maybe they don't like you, not because of your race, but because your personality could use some work.
Ooh, listen, look, I know a lot of people like that. You know what I'm saying? Definitely out here, these jobs and stuff like that. I'm a hiring manager at my job and stuff. And yes, man, listen, look, being able to be a perfect fit for the job or career, whatever, being a perfect fit at the place that you decide to go to and you filled out an application for that you want to go there and you want to make money. Being a perfect fit there is everything. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of black people nowadays think that they just could be any kind of fucking way and you're just supposed to hire them. And you know what I'm saying? Sometimes they be talking outside of their neck. And it's crazy to me. I had to fire somebody recently because this idiot decided to come into work and thought that he was going to talk out the side of his neck. You want to talk out the side of your neck, you're going to get terminated. And this is the issue here. Yes, sometimes you need to apply yourself. Sometimes you need to change your fucking attitude because you're funky. You have a funky attitude. Maybe it was because how you was raised, whatever household you was raised in. 9 times out of 10, most of you idiots was raised with single mamas in the household, shit like that. I wasn't. I had men in my household that taught me how to be a productive man. But, it is what it is here. Listen, look, when you go out here and you try to apply yourself, nobody wants to deal with people with nasty attitudes or know-it-alls. When you're trying to apply for a position and things like that, and you want people to pay you, and you got a nasty attitude, hey, listen, look, I definitely agree with her. You know what I'm saying? Some of these people out here have crazy thought processes.
Maybe you talk more than you listen. Maybe you're just not that easy to be around right now.
Right.
And that's not demeaning. Because if it is you, you can change that. If it's racism, then you're stuck waiting for somebody else to fix the world. But if it is you, you can grow and improve. And that's not shame. Knowing that your excellence isn't limited by your race, but only by your effort, that's one of the most freeing realizations that you'll ever have. But if that offends you, that's probably because you're offended by the fact that you'll have to work really hard. And if that bothers you, then maybe you just don't deserve what excellent people get.
Right. You don't work, you don't eat. Period. That's even in the Bible. You don't work, you don't eat. And this is where it's at. If you don't work, you don't eat. And then at the same time, though, too, when you get out here in the world and you want people to hire you and stuff like that, and you have these crazy attitudes and stuff like that, you won't get hired. But definitely in the black community, we do try to put this rhetoric out there. Oh, well, the white people are still holding us down. Well, what happened with redlining back in the day and stuff like that. I get it. Yeah, it happened. But there are so many ways and tools and stuff like that that we can, maneuver around nowadays. And the worst part about this situation is, and I'm going to speak upon it, is that the fact that the Black community is not sticking together like, the Black community used to. Our issue is that, we became soft because of so many, situations that as a community we had to overcome, and we just gave up. We gave up as a community and just totally gave in to stupidity. And then now we're wondering why as a community nothing's working out for us, and we having these issues and stuff like that, and we're still trying to blame white people and stuff like that, what happened with their ancestors decades ago and our ancestors decades ago and things like that. And I get it, it does have a small inkling, but the problem here is that we have so many ways to overcome. But our issue is the Black community in the 21st century is that we no longer stick together. And that's the only way that Black people are going to be able to maneuver. And it's always been that way for every other culture in America, basically. The Italians, the Chinese, like I said previously in this broadcast, you had Chinatown in certain places, Little Italy, you know what I'm saying? Harlem was full of Black people with our culture and restaurants and stuff like that. The only way that each culture thrives is if they stick together, and those cultures are still sticking together. We as Black Americans, descendants of slaves, we have given up. We have given up. In our communities, we stopped trying to fight, and this is where we at now. And then we're still trying to say white people are doing this and other cultures are doing that and this and that, whoop the whoop. But we were the ones that gave up the fight as a culture. We were the ones that stopped trying to overcome. We shall overcome. We shall overcome. We shall overcome. Someday. We the ones gave up the fight. So you want to sit here and blame every other culture for our issues in the 21st century when we're the ones not together, we're the ones can't get along, we're the ones, allowing our children to be raised by all these single mothers, we're the ones not trying to actually build communities, you allowing all these people to come into your communities and own your gas stations and shit like that and stuff, your grocery stores, and every time you look up, you're in your own community and these people are selling you shit in your own community, whether it be gas or groceries, don't none of them look like you and stuff like that. Even when you go to the liquor stores in your own community, don't none of them look like you, because y'all not sticking together to buy any goddamn thing. But it is what it is, though. Shout out to all my subscribers. Mad love to y'all. If you're new to the channel, please hit that like, share, subscribe button. Make sure you ring that bell to be notified whenever I decide to post things. And like I always say,
and that, my friends, is the bottom line.
That, my friends, is the bottom line. Black people, get your fucking shit together. Stop trying to blame everybody else. Get your mental together and your soul back right. Then Black people could come back together and we can start buying shit and owning shit again. You motherfuckers is playing around out here.